When a Bugatti Veyron breaks down, the repair bill can reach hundreds of thousands of pounds. But what if a seized gearbox had nothing to do with the gearbox at all? What if the culprit was a fuse worth less than £5? That is exactly what happened here, and it exposes a shocking pattern that may have sent perfectly reparable hypercars to an early grave. A Bugatti Veyron sitting dead with a broken gearbox is a distressing sight at the best of times. But when the repair estimate lands at £300,000, it becomes something else entirely, a financial catastrophe. The previous owner of this particular Veyron faced that exact choice: pay an amount nearly equal to the car's remaining value, or walk away. He walked away. To understand why that estimate felt so inevitable, you need to understand what the Veyron's gearbox actually is. This is not a conventional transmission. It is a complex dual-clutch system managing over 1,000 horsepower from a 16-cylinder, quad-turbocharged engine, delivering that power to all four wheels with extraordinary precision. When it stopped engaging, the car simply refused to move, engine running perfectly, but the car going nowhere. The official diagnosis was unambiguous. The gearbox required full replacement. And at Bugatti, that means exactly what it sounds like. The entire unit goes out, a brand new sealed assembly comes in, and the bill reflects every bit of that process. For context, a new Veyron costs around £1 million. The gearbox alone accounts for nearly a third of that. The previous owner couldn't justify it. The car was repossessed and sold at a fraction of its worth, because every buyer who looked at it assumed the diagnosis was accurate and the cost was unavoidable. To the outside world, this was simply a broken supercar, too expensive to fix, too complicated to question. To understand how a £5 fuse could be overlooked in the first place, you need to understand how Bugatti approaches gearbox repairs, or rather, how it avoids them. Bugatti's official policy is straightforward: don't diagnose the gearbox, replace it. When a transmission fault is detected, the entire unit is swapped out as a sealed, factory-supplied package. Technicians do not open it, examine individual components, or troubleshoot internal faults. The whole assembly is treated as a single, non-serviceable item. The reasoning is not entirely unreasonable. The Veyron's gearbox contains hundreds of precision components working in concert. Opening it without factory tools, factory training, and factory conditions introduces real risk. And when a replacement unit comes with a full warranty, the logic of swapping rather than fixing has a certain appeal, at least for the manufacturer. But that policy has a significant blind spot. It assumes the fault is always inside the gearbox. It does not account for the possibility that the gearbox itself is perfectly fine, but something upstream, an electrical supply, a sensor, a fuse, has cut off the signal that makes it work. Under Bugatti's approach, those possibilities are never fully explored. Any symptom that points toward the gearbox triggers a full replacement, regardless of what is actually causing it. The result is a system that is efficient for the brand and catastrophic for the owner. Cars are written off. Repair bills are accepted without question. And the real faults, potentially simple, potentially cheap, go undiagnosed. Matt Armstrong is not a franchise dealer or an authorized workshop. He is an independent mechanic with a YouTube channel and a specific obsession: rescuing abandoned supercars that everyone else has given up on. From Lamborghinis to Ferraris to Porsches, Matt has built a reputation for finding the problems that official diagnoses miss. His approach is methodical rather than intuitive. He does not assume the most expensive component is the broken one. He starts from the beginning, checks, tests, measurements, observations, and works forward from there. When this Veyron came to him, the £300,000 estimate was already on the table. Most people would treat that as the answer. Matt treated it as a hypothesis. His question was simple: what if the gearbox is actually fine? Matt brought in Ricky from RE Performance to access the car's electronic systems remotely. Using advanced diagnostic software, they could send commands directly to individual components and watch how the car responded. The first test revealed something odd. They commanded the secondary air pump to activate. The computer logged the command as sent, but nothing happened. No sound, no movement, no response from the pump itself. Then they targeted the gearbox pressure pump. the component responsible for building the hydraulic pressure that allows the gearbox to engage. Again, the software reported normal operation. Again, the physical pump did not respond. No sound, no vibration, no pressure. That gap between what the computer believed and what was actually happening is critical. It does not necessarily mean a major mechanical failure. It can mean something far simpler: a broken wire, a dead sensor, or a lost power supply. The computer sends a signal, the signal never arrives, and the component sits completely unaware it was ever asked to do anything. That realization shifted the investigation away from the gearbox entirely and towards the electrical system, specifically the fuse box. Working methodically through each fuse, without even a wiring diagram to guide him, Matt checked them one by one. Most were intact. Then he found it. One fuse was completely burned out, melted, discolored, finished. That fuse protected the power circuit for the gearbox pressure pump. Without it, the pump had no power. Without the pump, the gearbox had no hydraulic pressure. Without hydraulic pressure, the gearbox could not engage. The car would not move, not because the transmission had failed, but because a single blown fuse had cut its power supply. Removing the dead fuse revealed something even more troubling than the failure itself. Someone had already been here before. The original fuse for that circuit was rated at 20 amps. At some point, when it blew, rather than investigating why it blew, someone replaced it with a 30 amp fuse. When that one failed too, they fitted a 40 amp mini fuse, the wrong type entirely, forced into a slot it was never designed for. Each uprated fuse lasted longer than the last. None of them fixed anything. They simply delayed the inevitable while removing the protection the circuit depended on. A fuse is not just a component, it is a safeguard. Its purpose is to break the circuit before the wiring, the electronics, or the connected systems can be damaged by excessive current. When you replace a blown fuse with a higher-rated one without addressing why the original fuse failed, you are not solving a problem. You are muting the alarm while the fire continues to burn. In this case, that shortcut eventually burned through the oversized fuse completely, cutting power to the gearbox pump and bringing the entire car to a standstill. A fault that could have been diagnosed and corrected years earlier had been repeatedly patched over, each patch worse than the last, until the car stopped moving and the next person in line quoted £300,000 to bring it back. To confirm the diagnosis, Matt and his team supplied power directly to the pump circuit, bypassing the fuse entirely. The pump came to life immediately. It built pressure, reached the correct level, and shut off exactly as designed. Textbook behavior from a component that had just been declared part of a catastrophic transmission failure. Once the correct 20 amp fuse was installed, the result was unambiguous. The gearbox pressure built. Matt shifted the car out of park, cycled through reverse, neutral, and drive. The car responded. Further testing with all four wheels under load confirmed what the diagnostics had suggested. The gearbox itself was completely fine. A car written off for a £300,000 repair had been saved by a fuse costing less than £5. The obvious question is how this was missed. But the more important question is how many times it has happened before, and to how many cars. Bugatti's sealed unit policy is not inherently dishonest. There are legitimate reasons to avoid opening a gearbox that complex without factory-level resources. But when that policy actively discourages the kind of basic electrical checks that would take minutes to perform, it stops being a quality standard and starts being a liability for owners. The financial consequences are real. Cars like this Veyron lose enormous value the moment a gearbox fault is declared. Buyers assume the worst. Sellers accept lower prices. Insurers recalibrate. All of it based on a diagnosis that, in this case, was never fully interrogated. The reputational consequences matter too. Bugatti sells not just a car but an assurance that every aspect of ownership, including servicing, will reflect the same standard of excellence as the engineering itself. When a £5 fuse produces a £300,000 estimate, that assurance is hard to defend. Matt Armstrong's work on this Veyron is not just a remarkable repair story. It is a challenge to a system that too often mistakes expensive with thorough. The lesson is not that official service networks are corrupt or incompetent. It is that no diagnostic process, however prestigious, should skip the basics. Even a million-pound hypercar still relies on a fuse. And sometimes, that fuse is the only thing standing between a working machine and a written-off one.